Welcome to the Deep Dives, where we sift through a stack of sources, articles, research, and notes to bring you the most potent nuggets of knowledge and insight. Today, we're taking you on a journey back to industrial Dundee. Picture this.
Yeah.
The relentless clatter of machinery and the powerful, almost haunting melody of a folk song echoing through time.
It's a really specific place and era we're looking at, Dundee, but the echoes of its struggles, the message of its people, it carries this incredible relevance that stretches way beyond that time and place.
Absolutely. Our deep dive today is all about Mary Brooksbank. She's been called a political firebrand turned songwriter, which is quite the description. And we're looking at her most famous creation, a song known as the Jute-Mill Song, or maybe more affectionately, Oh Dear Me.
And to really get into this story, we've pulled from, quite a mix of sources. We've got captivating YouTube performance of the song, historical trust documents, deep dives into labor history.
And even contemporary social commentary that still references her work.
Exactly. So our mission really is to guide you through the compelling life of this remarkable woman. We want to explore the, let's face it, harsh world she inhabited in Dundee's jute mills.
And unpack the enduring message of her iconic song.
And most importantly, I think, understand how her activism and her profound insights continue to spark these vital conversations about social justice, about collective action, even today.
Okay, so with that foundation laid, let's dive deeper. Our story really kicks off in what was known back then as the she-town of Dundee. We're charting Mary Brooksbank's early life and her immersion into the, demanding, often brutal world of the jute mills.
So Mary, she's born Mary Sokatar in Aberdeen, 1897, but her family moved to Dundee when she was just 8 or 9 years old.
And her childhood, as you can probably imagine for many working-class kids of that era, was far from idyllic. She started working in the mills, illegally actually, at the tender age of 12.
12 years old.
As a bobbin shifter.
And what's genuinely fascinating here, I think, is that even at such a young age, Mary wasn't just, passively accepting things. She showed these early sparks of the activist she would become. Her first real taste of collective power, of trade unionism, came when she was just 14.
14, wow.
Yeah, she took part in a protest that actually won a 15% wage rise in her factory.
Incredible.
And later, she looked back on her life in her poem, Nae Regrets, using this really vivid Scots phrase, "A gay roke road, fell snell weather."
It means
a very rough road, terribly cold weather. You can just feel the grit in those words, can't you?
You really can. It makes you wonder how that kind of childhood, defined by such harsh realities and being largely excluded from mainstream schooling because of a visual impairment.
Right.
How that ultimately shaped her unique, fiercely independent perspective on justice and inequality.
Well, it seems her education came directly from her family, from the daily grind of mill work and the political events unfolding all around her. Talk about learning from the sharp edges of life.
Okay.
And the world she was learning in, Dundee, it was an industrial powerhouse. It truly deserved its nickname, Jute-opolis.
Jute-opolis.
Yeah, for about 200 years, it was the global center for jute production. We're talking an estimated 50,000 families relying on those mills for their livelihoods.
50,000 families, that's huge.
It is. But what truly sets Dundee apart and gives it that other moniker, She-Town, is a workforce. It was predominantly female.
Right, because women were seen as
cheaper labor than men. About 3 out of 4 workers in these places were women. Largely for that reason.
Cheaper labor, yes, but certainly not easier work. The sources say conditions were pretty tough.
Understatement, probably.
With really, really long hours. And we're talking about incredibly dangerous machines with little to no health and safety precautions.
And the health impacts were devastating. Workers suffered from something called mill fever.
Mill fever.
Yeah, it was a chronic respiratory condition, often leading to bronchitis, other severe lung diseases, directly caused by constantly breathing in jute dust and fibers in these really poorly ventilated factories.
Awful.
And the poverty. The extreme poverty these workers faced is, frankly, shocking. They were working on minimum wage and living in poverty.
And consider the statistic we found. It's truly horrifying. Infant and maternal mortality in Dundee was the highest in the entire country.
Highest in the country. That implies a truly crushing level of hardship.
Highest in the entire country. That's just devastating. How did people even cope with that level of loss, that relentless struggle? Especially the women, who were bearing the brunt of both the work and childcare.
It's almost impossible to fully grasp, isn't it? That level of relentless effort. Women often worked up to the last few days before having their babies.
Right up until the birth.
Pretty much. And then, even after a grueling 10-hour day in the mill, they'd take on extra work, like sewing bundles of sacks at home.
For panties, I imagine.
Yeah, often for a meager 5 to 6 pence for maybe 25 sacks. What does that tell us about the sheer resilience or maybe just the absolute lack of choice that defines so many lives there?
It speaks volumes about an incredibly difficult social contract or maybe the absence of one. These women weren't just workers. They were the absolute backbone of their families, of the city, facing conditions that would break most of us today.
Totally. The fact they continued working right up to childbirth, then took on more manual labor after a full day, it just highlights a system where every single ounce of their labor was exploited.
There was no safety net.
None. Just relentless, back-breaking work for survival. And that's exactly why understanding these conditions is so crucial to understanding Mary and her song.
It paints such a harrowing picture. The endurance required just to survive.
Yeah.
And remarkably, you don't just have to imagine these conditions today.
No, you don't.
If you really want to grasp the scale, the physicality of this era, you can actually step back in time at Verdant Works.
Ah, yes, Verdant Works, an award-winning A-listed jute mill right there in Dundee. It started life back in 1833, originally as a flax spinning mill, before becoming this jute powerhouse.
And it stopped production.
In 1889, but thankfully, the Dundee Heritage Trust had the foresight to purchase the site. It was derelict by then in 1991.
And after 5 years of renovation,
It officially opened as Scotland's Jute Museum in 1996. It's an incredible example of preserving not just buildings, but, entire narratives, entire lives.
but it's still evolving, right?
Yeah, today it's actually striving to become a green museum for the 21st century. They use electricity now to demonstrate the machinery, a stark contrast to its coal-burning past.
Wow.
And all of this is done with the profound aim of preserving the lives of the people who worked through the city's Judeopolis era. It lets us physically connect with these powerful stories we're discussing.
And from these brutal conditions, from these untold stories, sometimes a voice emerges. A voice so powerful that it transcends time and becomes, well, a song. And this is where Mary Brooksbank's The Jute-Mill Song enters our narrative. A piece of music that truly spoke for thousands.
And Mary, she didn't just conjure the factory refrain out of thin air, did she? She adapted something that was already there.
That's right. As our sources highlight, Mary took this existing refrain, this sort of shared lament, like, oh, dear me, the mill's gain fest, the poor wee shifters, and then she built on it.
She added verses to the song which documented her own experience and her own reflections on what she saw while she worked there.
And that layering, that personal experience and observation onto an already familiar tune, that's precisely what gives the song its deep resonance, its lasting power.
It transformed it from maybe a simple work chant into a true anthem.
And when you dive into those lyrics, you really feel the weight of their lives. The iconic chorus goes, oh, dear me, the mill's gain fast, and the Perry shifters can't get any rest.
Shiftin', bobbins, coarse and fine, they fairly make you work for your 10 and 9.
Now, for anyone unfamiliar, shifters, these are the young workers, often children, right?
Yeah, the ones who removed full bobbins from the spinning frames and replaced them with empty ones. It was fast, repetitive, utterly exhausting work.
And the 10 and 9, that wasn't just a random number.
No, that was their weekly wage. At the turn of the century, 10 shillings, often paid as a gold half-sovereign apparently, and 9 pence. 10 and 9.
10 shillings and 9 pence.
Per week.
Per week. And to put that in perspective, one verse just states it so movingly. To feed and clothe my bairnies off in 10 and 9.
To feed and clothe my children off 10 and 9.
Think about that. Trying to feed and clothe your children to survive on that meager sum, it speaks volumes about the sheer struggle, doesn't it? The perpetual tightrope walk to keep a family afloat.
It really does.
Yeah.
And what's truly remarkable, I think, is how Mary managed to distill her entire outlook, her revolutionary spirit almost, into one searing line in that last verse.
Ah, the famous line.
Yes. Them that work the hardest are I the least provided.
It's a truth that, as our sources point out, speaks more than many politicians can say in a lifetime. But let's dig into why. Why isn't this just a historical lament? How does that line transcend the specific hardships of the Dundee jute mills to become this sort of universal critique of inequality that still resonates so strongly today?
That's the core of it, isn't it?
Can we see echoes of this injustice in, say, the modern gig economy? or in debates around essential workers' pay.
Oh, absolutely. That line is so profound because it taps into this fundamental, persistent imbalance in society. It highlights the disconnect between effort and reward.
Right.
In Mary Brooksbank's time, it was the mill workers, the manual laborers, literally powering the economy who received the least. Today, we see it in different forms. You mentioned the gig economy drivers, delivery workers. Their strenuous, often precarious labor is so often undervalued.
Yeah.
Or think about essential workers, healthcare, education, retail lauded during the pandemic, but many still struggling for a living wage.
Definitely.
Or even the broader global wealth gap, where those who amass the most capital often do so without direct, hard labor. It's a critique of a system that frequently rewards speculation and ownership over genuine human contribution.
And that's why it remains so cuttingly relevant.
Exactly.
That's a really powerful connection.
Yeah.
It's not just about historical injustice, but the structure of our economies, then and now.
Mm-hmm.
And the song's cultural impact has just been immense. It's been sung and recorded by so many artists. Hannah Rarity, Sheena Wellington.
Beth Malcolm and Heather Cartwright.
Yeah.
Folk legends like Ewan McCall and Peggy Seeger recorded it too.
And its recognition isn't just in the folk community either. An extract of the song is actually displayed on the Scottish Parliament's Canongate wall.
Which is quite something.
What does that recognition signify? Why has this particular song held such sway for so long?
Well, I think it signifies that the song has transcended its origins. It's become a piece of shared national heritage, a reminder of a working-class past that shaped so much of Scotland.
It's more than just a song.
It's a historical document, really. A call to empathy and a timeless anthem for dignity and labor. Its staying power comes from its raw honesty, I think, and that universal truth it articulates about human experience under duress.
It gives voice to the voiceless.
Exactly, and that's something people continue to connect with, generation after generation.
It's incredible, really, how a song born from such specific hardship can achieve that lasting cultural significance. But Mary Brooksbank's legacy, it isn't just in her songwriting, is it?
Not at all. It's deeply rooted in her life as an activist. She was a lifelong socialist and communist, a woman so committed to her beliefs that she was actually jailed 3 times for her campaigning activities.
3 times.
Her commitment was absolutely unwavering. In 1930, she founded the Working Women's Guild,
Okay.
specifically to continue the fight for the rights of women in the workplace and better health and social services. But what's truly remarkable, I find, is that Brooksbank was never one to toe a party line.
Not just following orders.
No. She was notably very critical of Stalinism, for instance, and she insisted on making women's and children's well-being a political priority of hers.
Which wasn't always popular.
Apparently not. It actually led to her expulsion from the Communist Party.
Wow. Expelled from her own party for sticking to her principles, particularly about women's and children's well-being. That's quite a level of conviction.
It really is.
Was this fierce independence seen as a strength, do you think? Or maybe a hindrance in her overall activism in terms of building wider support? She sounds like a true independent spirit.
I think it was likely both, which is often the case with such formidable figures, isn't it? Her independent stance probably alienated some within the, rigid party structures of the time.
Sure.
But at the same time, it surely cemented her authenticity, her integrity among the very people she was fighting for, the working-class women and families of Dundee.
Her focus remained clear.
Absolutely. Her one ambition, as she put it, was to destroy the capitalist system. She actually made several unsuccessful attempts to get elected to local councils.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but ultimately she concluded that, quote, whoever sat in power, whether in Westminster or the local councils, it did not alter the fundamental balance of power.
So she saw direct action as more important.
It seems so. Her activism, her direct actions seemed far more crucial to her than electoral success in the end.
And this personal history, this working-class woman, her political actions, her powerful songwriting, didn't just fade away.
No, thankfully not.
It's made such a significant contribution to Scottish culture that her story and others like it are meticulously preserved in these wider labor history archive collections.
Yeah, collections like Janie Buchan's 100 boxes of material on political songs,
Yeah.
or Ian McDougall's massive collection on Scottish labor history. These archives aren't just for academics, they're living testaments.
Keeping those voices alive.
Exactly, ensuring Mary's voice continues to inform our understanding of social movements today.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Mary Brooksbank's insights, particularly that timeless line, "Oh dear me, the world's ill-divided. Them that works the hardest are I, the least provided."
Mm-hmm.
It resonates really powerfully in contemporary discussions. We found researchers, Quarrel and Davis, for example, who actively use Brooksbank's "Oh dear me" and "nay regrets" to challenge modern concepts.
Like toxic childhood.
Exactly, toxic childhood and poisonous pedagogy in modern schooling.
Okay, that's really interesting. So are they saying that by labeling a child's home environment toxic or an educational approach poisonous, we're often missing the bigger picture?
That seems to be the argument. They're suggesting that simply teaching, say, self-control in schools won't solve problems that are actually rooted in systemic issues.
Like poverty, poor housing, parents working multiple low-wage jobs.
Right, it's kind of shifting blame from the system onto the individual child or family.
Precisely. They're making this critical point that current policies frequently fail to address those deeper socioeconomic factors. Instead of tackling systemic poverty or insecure work, the focus often shifts to individual deficits, like a child's lack of self-control.
Which raises a huge question. What should education truly be for?
Well, they argue it should encourage children to have revolutionary thoughts, which is a bold statement.
It is.
And foster intrinsic motivation for learning, moving away from these cultures of reward and punishment, or what they bluntly call adult bullying related to class and poverty.
So it's about empowerment, not control. And Brooksbank's own story, having very little schooling because the system was not set up to include her.
Right, because of her eyesight.
It underscores this point perfectly. It highlights the urgent need for an education system that truly values diverse abilities, diverse identities, not just one narrow path that excludes so many.
Exactly. And this challenge they make to authoritarian professional approaches in education today. It directly echoes Brooksbank's lifelong fight against the authoritarian, exploitative, and abusive employers she faced in the mills.
The parallels are striking.
They really are. Her legacy is clearly still very much alive, not just in academic critiques, but you can see it visibly. In Dundee itself, there are public artworks dedicated to her, like the clock on the high street.
So her influence is still felt locally, too.
Absolutely. It continues to shape how we understand historical struggles and these ongoing social debates. She's a vital voice that still speaks to us across the decades.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for us today? Mary Brooksbank's life, her direct action, her powerful Jute-Mill Song. They really serve as this timeless lens, don't they? A way to view the struggles of the working class and the enduring fight for social equality. Her voice, born from such hardship, articulated truths that still challenge us to look beyond superficial solutions.
Her work reminds us that profound societal truths are often best articulated by those who experience injustice directly, and often, like her, at immense personal cost.
Yeah.
And recognizing these powerful voices from the past, it can empower us, to critically examine and actively shape a less ill-divided world for future generations.
Fostering collective action, challenging entrenched systems, just as she envisioned.
Exactly.
Mary Brooksbank's legacy isn't just some historical footnote. It feels like a living challenge. Her struggle in the jute mills of Dundee forces us to confront some pretty uncomfortable truths, I think.
Like what?
Like, are we truly learning from history, or are we just repackaging old injustices in new forms? Her fight wasn't merely for a wage increase. It was for dignity, for recognition, for that truly less ill-divided world. And as we look at today's debates, automation, minimum wage, precarious work, the gig economy we mentioned, it really begs the question, how much has really changed? And maybe, what will our generation's Jute-Mill Song sound like?